Sorry about that. Hi, my name is Navi Ajla, and I am the Executive Director at Labor Community Services of Peel. I am here today with truck drivers representing 42 drivers from 4 different companies who for $300,000 in unpaid wages. We are here because, before the Federal Labor Program Office because federal truck drivers in Canada are facing rampant wage theft and the federal government is not protecting workers. This is happening because employers feel confident to break the law without consequence. At Labor Community Services of Peel, we provide legal services related to employment law. Since July of 2021, we have received calls from over 160 truck drivers needing support for wage theft and other employment law related issues, including misclassification, harassment, and reprisals. There are several barriers and gaps in the Ministry of Labor complaints process that allows for such rampant wage theft to exist. And the workers who will be speaking to you today about their own personal experiences will highlight how these barriers and gaps have impacted their lives and ability to access justice. First, it takes close to 1 year for a labor complaint to be processed by a labor officer and a payment order to be issued. As we all know, justice delayed is justice denied. Second, when the labor program finally orders the employer to pay the worker what they're owed, the government doesn't enforce the order. The federal labor program has very limited powers to actually enforce the payment orders. That means they mean nothing if an employer does not choose to pay voluntarily. Thirdly, employers face no consequences for breaking the law, so there is no incentive for them to follow the law. Employers actually benefit from engaging in wage theft, often systematically doing so with dozens of workers from the same company. The workers are here today to demand that the federal government actually protect truck drivers, workers who have been hailed as frontline heroes for keeping the economy running, even during the pandemic and beyond. First, I would like to introduce Gavan Walia to share his experience on behalf of 20 workers from Sondh Freight Systems that are yet to be paid.
Thank you guys, everyone. So my name is Gavan Walia. I worked as a dispatcher in the Sondh Freight. So I am also a victim of this theft along with my 19 co-workers. I started working at Sondh Freight in September of 2019. I worked there almost 3 years. At first, everything was okay. But after COVID hit and my pay started to get delayed by 1 week. But we as a worker understood the situation and stand with them. But after 1 week, it to me, it was both drivers and dispatchers. Only when they will pay the drivers. Then too much. I refused to work there, and it was the day of Friday. We had a big fight about my pay and everything, but they told me that they will pay me tomorrow. So after on Sunday, I got the message from them that we don't need your services anymore. I did not get any notice or termination pay. I was owed around $21,000 at that time. I had to bug them every day to get 1 month's pay, but I'm still waiting on around 2 months pay since January 2022. It was such a struggle during that time. My family was not rich, coming from India. I was the only one supporting myself and my parents. They could not work because they are on a visitor visa here. So I had to use my credit cards to pay my bills, which had 24% interest. I had to pay thousands of dollars back in interest because I was not paid in my wages. I accumulated 15 to 20,000 in debt just because of them. I feel very depressed, when I think about it. My coworker, so I have one coworker who has to send his family home because of the 13,000 debt on him. I filed a labor court complaint in May 2022. I was the 5th worker to file within 2 months through Labor Community Services. Even though we told that the labor program that his company has done this to so many workers, they did nothing. They kept giving time to the employer until they realized how serious the situation is. When we had a meeting with the Ministry of Labors as well, they did nothing as well. So when I filed my complaint, Sondh Freight was still hiring new workers. A few months later, 15 more workers filed complaints from which 5 to 10 workers were very new who started when I filed the claim. So more and more workers suffered because of the labor program and did not take action. I'm owed 12,850 as a group, and we are owed 120,000 in total pay. I received my payment order last September, but the company still don't pay me. The labor program did not enforce any payment order and they are roaming around freely. So now the company has shut down and we might never get our money back. All of us 20 workers now have payment order, but the gaps in the law mean that the orders have not been enforced. We may never get our wages and the director of the company, Avtar Sondh, will not face any consequences. My payment orders has been filed at the labor court, but now I have to figure it on my own again to get my money back. This country is in desperate need of truck drivers, but this is how the workers are allowed to be treated. We are here today to demand that the federal government protected workers and make sure that we get paid. Otherwise, what is the point of filing a complaint with the labor court? And what is the point of having laws? How are we supposed to believe in the government? And how, like, it is very hard to pay that much taxes, but what is the mean of paying taxes? Next, I would like to introduce Lovejo Singh, who is speaking on behalf of 21 employees that are owed over 168,000 from the FastLane Trucking. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Hello everyone, my name is Lovejo Singh and I am here with my several of co-workers today. We work for FastLane Trucking. We all know that trucking plays an important role in our economy. Even though we provide essential services, we are experiencing a distressing trend of some companies failing in their responsibilities to compensate us fairly and promptly. This is very common these days and all of us are facing the same issue. We were all employed by FastLane Truckers, also known as 10-4 system. We are over 20 drivers and owed approximately $168,000 from this company. We were told that the company pays well and on time. After waiting for 2-3 weeks, we got our first paycheck, which got bounced when we got hired. Upon asking owner, he said your deposit will be done within like next 2 or 3 days. This pattern started become a regular, however. For some reason, the payment structure got changed without our knowledge, and we were receiving the partial payments every week rather than agreed bi-weekly payments. After February 2023, we started to experience the payment delays. Slowly, this became a regular practice and we were reached to the accounting team and they stopped taking our calls as well. We then tried to reach our dispatcher team and the owner of the company, who is Hardev Singh Taggar and Nasir Mohammed. So we tried to reach them and they kept blindsiding us the entire time. This kept on ongoing for approximately 1 month. Imagine for a moment our plight. We are hardworking truck drivers who dedicate our time and ensure the smooth functioning of the supply chain. We spend countless hours behind the wheel, separating us from loved ones to deliver the good to the businesses and the consumers. We rely on our wages, and also this leads to the financial insecurity, and as a result we have started looking for the jobs which is different than the trucking companies, leaving behind our unpaid wages. Some are trying to get to the new companies, where some are moving to the other sectors as well. So we are tortured at that extent that we are scared of working in this industry again and ending up working in a different sectors. These options are we do have the option to file a labor claim with the labor code against the employer, but we fail to understand why this is a such time consuming and a long process. The average case time is close to 1 year, so employer have a way around to beat the system. Many tends to file bankruptcy before the labor code process claims, and they start business under a different company, usually becoming a partner of a different transportation company. This is not the first time the company has done this with my fellow workers. They have been exploiting us for the years. This company is still open and hiring the new workers. In situations like this, where so many workers are filing claim from one company, the government needs to step in and stop the company from continuing business until the workers are paid. FastLane has agreed us that we owe this money, but they continue to make excuses and delaying our payments. We are feeling very depressed at this moment, and this is impacting our personal lives as well. We have to pay our bills, and cost of living in Toronto or in GTA is too high. The employer has sent us the payment plans many times, but not honored a single payment yet. The government needs to step in before they steal more worker wages, or the company can sell all their assets and claim bankruptcy. I urge the federal government to expedite our case so that the fast lane does not have time to outsmart the system. No worker should be left struggling to sustain themselves and their families due to the negligence and irresponsibility of the employers. Thank you.
I would now like to call up Manjinder Singh, who is also a truck driver that has experienced wage theft.
Hi everyone, I hope you all are doing good. I am very grateful for the chance to speak with you today, and I would like to share my story. I worked for Jatinder Singh at JHK Golden Express in 2021. I started working in March as a truck driver. While working there, I was being pushed to work so much, but I did not get my first paycheck until 3 months after I started working. The truck was not well maintained and I was pulled over several times at inspection station and received violations because the truck wasn't safe to drive. So after 3 months, when I was owed more than 10,000, I felt that I had no choice but to leave the job. During this time, I still had to pay my rent, my car payments, and buy food. When I left the job, I literally had $0 in my bank account. I requested to the employer to give me at least $1,000 to pay my bills. I even sent him my bank account screenshot to show him I literally had any money in my bank account. I still remember that he refused and I had to borrow money from my friends to pay all my bills. I even had to ask for an advance from the next company that I started working for. In August 2021, I filed a labor complaint for unpaid wages with the federal labor program. It took almost 1 year for a payment order to be issued to the company in June 2022. It was determined that I was owed $10,620 in unpaid wages. Even after the payment order, I did not get paid. This shows that employers do not take payment order seriously. Another payment order was issued to the director of the company, Jatinder Singh, in October 2022. Still, he didn't pay me. Now, 2 years after filing my complaints, I am still empty-handed and have not received even a $1. The process is too long and time-consuming, which has left me with frustration. I am a real-life example of a person who is a victim of this negligent system. So where is my story at this point? The labor program said they cannot get my money from the employee. He has not paid me yet. Now my only choice was for the labor program to file my payment order in the federal court. I received a certificate of filing, means my order is registered in federal court last month, 2 years after my complaint. Now the labor program will not help me anymore. It's my own responsibility to enforce the payment order. I have been put back in the same situation that I was 2 years ago. Now I have to hire a lawyer to help me out. He will also charge me money for their services. My unpaid wages are over 10,000, and if I pay 5,000 to the lawyer, what will I be left with? You know how much inflation has increased in the last few years. I'm losing the value of my money too. All these things are pushed me toward depression. I am a real life example standing in front of you, and I am not the only one. There are hundreds of drivers like me in the same situation. It makes me feel like the employer is already exploiting me, but the government is as well. I do not hesitate to say that this is the total failure of the government system. The system leaves immigrants and workers like myself vulnerable to exploitation and hardship. It's not like the labor officer didn't try to help me. They did, but it isn't enough. Even though I had all the proofs of the work which I did, even though employer has received 3 payments order from the federal labor program, I am still waiting for the justice 2 years later. Changes need to be made to the federal labor program. The labor program need to be give labor officer the power to enforce the payment order. The employees also need to face consequences. Jatinder Singh is happily living his life and has had no consequences, while I have been suffering for over 2 years waiting for my hard-earned money. I have also had to spend precious time and energy trying to get my money. I have had to take time off work, and that is very frustrating. The government need to protect us. We demand justice. We demand justice. We demand justice. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. Finally, I would like to introduce Karan.
Hi everyone, my name is Karan. I have been a truck driver working in the trucking industry for the last 2 years. During that period, I worked for different companies. But wherever I go, I face the same wage theft. At the first company I worked for, they had held 2 weeks of my pay as security deposit. And after 2 more weeks, asked me to do the interstate work, which is illegal. After I refused, they didn't pay me for the whole month that I have worked for the company. I had to file a federal labor complaint against the company. It's been more than 1 year filing the claim, and I haven't still received my money. After this, I, in a hope to earn money, I joined a different company. The company name is A.B. Raval and the owner name is Akshay Raval. Hoping that I would not face the same issue again, but little did I know. I joined the company that took systematic advantage of weak labor enforcement process in Canada to steal from workers and abuse them. The company paid me at the start, but after 1 month, their check started to bounce. The owner started making excuses, many excuses, such as the bank, there are some bank issues there, and he tried to make the payroll process very extensive and long. And whenever we went to the office to ask for our payment, he just flee the office, so we cannot have a confrontation with him. In the period of less than 1 year, he did not pay me for a total of 6 months of work. I'm owed around $40,000 in unpaid wages. Not just drivers, he did the same thing to dispatchers, to the mechanics in the workshops, and the other hourly wages who are workers who worked for him. To the new drivers, he lured them by saying he will provide or sell them LMIs. And to the old drivers, he threatened them not to provide support for their immigration documents. And if they didn't continue working, he will not support them and they will have to leave this country. I clearly remember an incident with my fellow worker. At the company, he worked for a long time. He, like me, begged the employer to pay his wages. His mother was sick and worried because he wasn't getting paid. And like me, was the only breadwinner of his family. After months of delaying his wages, his mother was admitted to the hospital in India due to the damages to her nerves in her brain caused by stress of not getting money. My co-worker posted a video of his mother begging the owner of the company to pay his son because they didn't even have the money to pay the hospital bill. My owner saw the video, but he ignored the advice at all. Similarly, I have seen my family starving and suffering. My whole family of 4 was forced to live in a single room because we did not have money to pay for rent and was at the verge of being homeless during winters. I have been forced to take various loans to support my family, and to this day, I owe $20,000 to my friends who helped me during my harsh period. Now, I'm not able to pay them back at all. My only hope left was filing a complaint with the federal labor program, but they have failed me too to provide me justice so far. It has been more than 8 months since I have filed my complaint, and my file is still being reviewed by the labor officer. And my file is in its initial reviews. It's a drivers like me and our families who suffer. When we tell our employers that we will file a complaint with the labor program, they simply tell us, do whatever you want to do because labor code is bullshit. They are not afraid of breaking the law because there are no consequences for them. Even if a complaint is successful, they might not pay the worker and nothing will happen to them. Once they realize this, they have no problem refusing to pay dozens of workers. It is a crime to steal in this country, but not for an employer to steal his worker wages. How does this make sense to everybody? I have met thousands of drivers. Some lost $5,000, some 10,000. And this has become a new normal among drivers that every company will do the same, no matter wherever they go. And many workers didn't even try to use the labor program because they know labor code takes so long to help them. And they lose every ounce of hope and trust in the legal system of Canada. I strongly urge the federal government to protect workers in this country. We work so hard and have to suffer so much when we are not paid our wages. Claims need to be processed faster and employers need to face harsher consequences, especially when they break the law again and again. Thank you so much.
I want to thank all of the workers who spoke today and all of the 42 workers that they represent for sharing their stories. It takes a lot of bravery to speak up, given that these truck drivers are mostly racialized newcomers who are just struggling to get by. But these 42 drivers are also just the tip of the iceberg. We receive calls from truck drivers on a daily basis, and it is getting difficult to keep up with all of the drivers that need help after facing wage theft. They have families that they need to support and bills that they need to pay. They cannot wait years to get their hard-earned wages. All of the experiences that you have heard today demonstrate that employers feel confident to break the law. This is unacceptable. Illegal forms of wage theft, such as withholding pay, deducting money illegally, and simply refusing to pay workers their wages, have become an industry standard because the law means nothing without effective enforcement. This is not just one bad employer here or there. The government needs to take their responsibility seriously and make the necessary changes immediately to protect drivers from these abuses. The claims process needs to be improved so that workers can recoup their wages quickly. They should not have to wait 1 year to recover thousands of dollars in unpaid wages, having to take loans or borrow money to get by in the meantime. Once a payment order is issued, the government needs to enforce the orders immediately so that they actually mean something. Finally, there needs to be strict consequences for employers that break the law. There must be a cost to breaking the law and denying workers their wages. Otherwise, it creates an incentive for employers to steal wages, and that is exactly what we are seeing today. Because of the rampant labor violations drivers are facing, they have also come together to form a campaign called Justice for Truck Drivers. They will be hosting a town hall in 2 weeks where fellow drivers, politicians, and community members have been invited to listen to their concerns and experiences. We also invite you to attend on Saturday, July 22nd to help demand change to protect our truck drivers. We thank everyone that joined us today, and now we would like to give you an opportunity if you have any questions. Okay, no, and we are also doing interviews as well. So we're going to wrap up the press conference piece here. And again, we thank you all for coming so much. Take care.